Negative reinforcement and punishment can be confusing terms in ABA. Do you know the difference? These are terms that people mix up all the time. Such a pet peeve of mine, and probably other people who really know the technical terms. Reinforcement doesn't mean that something good happens, and punishment doesn't mean that something bad happens.
Hi, I'm Shira.
And I'm Shayna.
We're behavior analysts who create weekly content about how to teach kids with autism so that they make real progress, and we create shareable resources to make your job just a little easier.
Today's topic is all about negative reinforcement and punishment. If you want more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated on new video releases.
So I work with a lot of teachers, and very often they'll ask for some sort of punishment for a student in the class because they might be showing disruptive behavior or they did something that they weren't supposed to do. And they really want that behavior to be punished. My response is usually that it's actually unrelated to the behavior. Sometimes the punishment is like they would have to miss recess for doing something completely unrelated to that. And then it's not really a punishment. It's really only punishment if it's changing behavior. And sometimes teachers just want to enforce a consequence because it might make them feel better.
So let's just parse out these terms and talk about them independently for a second. So let's talk about just reinforcement versus punishment. So the definition, or the technical definition for reinforcement, is really just anything that increases the future likelihood of behavior. Punishment, on the other hand, is anything that decreases the future likelihood of behavior. And then you add in these other funky terms, right? Like positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, positive punishment, negative punishment. So let's pull up positive and negative. So positive is anything that you add to, and negative is anything you take away from. So if I say I'm adding to, so positive reinforcement, I'm adding something to increase future likelihood of behavior. Negative reinforcement, I'm taking away something to increase future likelihood of behavior.
So positive reinforcement means that if I go to work and I get paid, then that positively reinforce the likelihood of me going to work again. So it doesn't mean something good has to happen, and negative reinforcement doesn't mean something bad has to happen. Negative reinforcement is kind of synonymous with relief. It means that something kind of aversive was removed, which is going to increase the behavior that got it removed. So for example, if your alarm clock beeps in the morning and you push the snooze button and that sound goes away, then you pushing the snooze button was negatively reinforced. You're more likely to push that button again the next time because that behavior brought you relief. Similarly, if you have a headache and you take an Advil and it kind of makes your headache go away, then your behavior of taking the Advil was reinforced. And next time you have a headache, you're going to be more likely to take the Advil again because that aversive situation was removed.
So then let's talk about punishment. So just positive punishment versus negative punishment. Remember, positive means adding something. So I'm adding something to decrease future likelihood of behavior. And negative punishment is that I'm taking away something to decrease future likelihood of behavior.
Okay, so punishment doesn't actually have to mean that something bad happens. It just means that it's a behavior that decreases. And it actually works to keep us very safe. A lot of the ways that we live our life has to do with punishment. The reason we don't touch a hot stove is because it could be that once we touched it and it really, really hurt. And so that keeps us from doing things that are unsafe. We don't run into the middle of the road because that behavior hopefully was punished at one point, and it's keeping us from doing that over and over again. A lot of things with law enforcement have to do with punishment. That's why we don't speed, because you might be worried about getting a speeding ticket. So positive punishment means something is added. So if I touch a hot stove and I get hurt, that's positive punishment. And that means that my behavior of touching the hot stove is going to decrease in the future because that pain was added. Now, negative punishment means that something was removed to decrease a behavior. So something like, if my kids don't meet their curfew time and I take away their cell phone, then I've removed something to punish their behavior. Or
only, can I jump in though? Only if it affects the future likelihood of behavior. If you've taken away that phone, Shira, you may think it's negative punishment, but if they still miss their curfew, it's not punishment at all.
Right. And technically missing a curfew isn't a behavior, but something like if they did something inappropriate and then I removed a privilege, then that would be negative punishment if it changes the likelihood of their behavior happening in the future. So click the link in or around this video to get your free reinforcement versus punishment cheat sheet.
And for more information on negative reinforcement or punishment, visit howtoaba.com to claim your free download on reinforcement versus punishment. We also encourage you to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos, and leave a like or a comment below if you have further questions.